Welcome back, English Pros. I'm Grant, and welcome to Business as Usual English. Today, we're going to be reading an article written by the Harvard Business Review about when extra effort makes you worse at your job. This video is designed for intermediate to advanced learners of English, so if you could understand and use most of the words, phrases, and grammar in this article, I would say you have a very strong level of English. At the end of the video, I'll give you guys a link so that you can read the article for yourself and you can review all of the vocab also. When extra effort makes you worse at your job. We'll start with the title. To make you worse at something is a common pattern to talk about maybe improving or worsening some skill. So you could say, for example, that studying English will make you better at English, or working out or exercising makes it easier to lose weight. So we often use this verb make in combination with an adjective. Now, one other thing to keep in mind here is the use of this preposition at. So when we're talking about skill or ability in something, we always use at. For example, we say, I'm good at something. I'm bad at something. I'm better at something than you. I'm worse at something than you. So many people often use for or some different preposition, but you always want to use at in this case. Let's begin. Imagine you're a salesperson. You notice prospective clients often reach out with similar questions after meetings, delaying contract signing. One morning, you decide to fix this and compile an FAQ sheet to send out with your proposals. So here we have two things to talk about. The first is the phrasal verb reach out. Now, to reach out just means to try to contact someone. And it's very common to use this in an email or even in a sales call to give the reason you're calling. So you could say, hey, this is Grant with Business as Usual English. I'm reaching out to see if you're interested in signing up for English lessons or something like that. Or maybe a potential client emails you. You can respond to their message by saying, thank you for reaching out. How can I help you? The next word is to compile. Now, to compile something just means to kind of get a bunch of things together and organize them maybe in a file, in some kind of a spreadsheet, or some kind of a document. So it's very common in business for your boss to ask you to compile a list of prospective clients in the New York area, or compile a set of data about real estate prices for the last 10 years. It kind of means to get everything together, then organize it in a way that you can present it. Another word here that may be a bit tricky is this word FAQ. This stands for frequently asked question. Every company, every website typically has a page where they'll put questions that customers often ask to save their customer service representatives and their salespeople time. Let's continue. Later that day, at an important meeting, you find it harder to concentrate. Another interesting thing here is find it harder. So when we talk about finding something plus an adjective, it's just another way to talk about what you thought about something or how you feel about something. So you could say, I find it difficult to wake up early in the morning. Or maybe you're traveling to a new city. Someone might ask you, how did you find everything? Which means, do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about everything? So we often use, I found it easy. I found it lovely. Your attention wanes, and even simple answers feel hard to articulate. Wane is another way to say decrease. So we could say your attention wanes, maybe your patience wanes, but it's typically used to talk about these two things, maybe attention, maybe patience, maybe energy, but it's not as common in day-to-day speech. So I would usually say decrease, like our profits are decreasing, but in this case you could say maybe attention is waning. The next word is articulate. So to articulate something means just to be able to express something clearly and usually concisely. So concisely meaning with few words. So with this word articulate, this is a verb. Find it hard to articulate, But we also have an adjective, which is articulate. So a person who is articulate is someone who can express themselves in a very educated way, but with very few words. It's someone who is very good at expressing their ideas. If someone says, oh, John is very articulate, it means that John is a great communicator. He doesn't have to use a lot of words to communicate what he wants to say. So these are both spelled the same way, articulate, but the other one is pronounced articulate, the adjective. So the verb to articulate and the adjective articulate. So he can articulate, John is articulate. You may be experiencing the downside of being proactive. Now, downside is another way to say disadvantage or drawback. The opposite of this word is upside or advantage. And being proactive just means to do things before you are asked to do them, or kind of to anticipate problems that may occur and then solving the problem before it becomes a problem. A recent study found that people who put effort into improving their work rather than just doing it showed worse cognitive performance by the end of the day. So while proactivity may seem like a win, it can carry short-term mental costs. In this case, cognitive performance. Cognitive refers to your brain, and performance refers to your ability to do something. So we often talk about athletic performance. So being able to run fast or lift a heavy weight, and your cognitive performance is just about your ability to think and carry out mental tasks throughout the day. And when we talk about a short-term mental cost, it's just a negative effect, something that can affect your mind negatively. Why routine matters. Routines help conserve mental energy. Like learning to ride a bike, tasks that are repeated in the same way become automatic and less demanding. So demanding means exhausting. It's something that requires a lot of energy. You could also use demanding to describe a person, like maybe a boss or a mother-in-law who is always asking things from you. So your boss says, oh, you need to work 10 hours a day and you need to work on weekends and you need to do this, this, and this. This is a very demanding person. So demanding can describe a thing or a person. But proactive behavior breaks routines, requiring more mental effort and leading to greater mental fatigue, which makes it harder to focus and make decisions. So here we see fatigue, which just means tiredness. In one study, 163 French workers rated their daily proactivity and took a cognitive test at the end of the day. The more proactive they were, the lower their scores. The first thing we see here is a rated, which just means to give a rating. Like, for example, when you watch a show on Netflix, after the show you have to say like 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up, or a thumbs down. This is a rating. So whenever you give something a score. Then the next phrase we see here is a very common and very good way to compare things. You see, the more proactive they were, the lower their scores. So here's the structure. When we have two things that are related and more of one thing causes more of another, less of one thing causes less of another, and vice versa, and any combination of the two, you can start by saying the, then put a comparative, and then in the second part you can put the and a comparative. So for example, the more you read, the more you learn. And remember, the comparatives are more, less, or a small word that is ending in ER. So for example, the harder you work, the more you will earn. Or the later you stay up, the less energy you will have the next day. So remember, the plus some form of a comparative. So more proactive, more intelligent, less intelligent, taller, shorter. And then the same thing in the second half to show some kind of relationship. To rule out other factors like poor sleep or heavy workload, a second study tested 93 workers both in the morning and evening. So to rule out is a phrasal verb that just means to eliminate a choice. So typically, when you're making a choice or a decision, you want to rule out some of the different choices. Let's say you're looking for a new supplier for your company. One supplier is based in China, the other supplier is based in your home country, and the third supplier is based in North America, and the fourth in Europe. So you could say, I think we should rule out the supplier based in Europe because it's very far and the taxes will be very high. Maybe we should also rule out the supplier based in China because it will also be very far from our facility. So ruling out is kind of to eliminate options. Now, when they say both in the morning and evening, this both is mostly used to emphasize, to add emphasis. Because you could say a second study tested 93 workers in the morning and in the evening. But by adding both, it just kind of adds emphasis to this, and it sounds a little bit better, a little bit more sophisticated in this way. Even after controlling for these variables, the more proactive workers consistently showed lower cognitive performance at day's end. In another experiment, 637 UK workers compared routine tasks to ones they wanted to improve. Tasks that deviated from routine required significantly more mental effort, confirming the link between proactivity and cognitive load. The word deviated here means to go away from the standard or the typical routine. And cognitive load just means the cognitive demand, all of the things you have to do during the day. Cognitive load. Should you stop being proactive? Not at all. Proactivity helps people feel engaged and creates opportunities for innovation. But since it drains mental energy, it's important to manage when and how you engage in it. The authors offer 3 suggestions. To feel engaged means to feel focused, to be interested and interacting with what you're doing. And we also have the word engaging, which is to describe a thing that makes people feel engaged. So if something's very engaging, it's very interesting and exciting. The next thing we see here is drains mental energy. So if something is drained, it means that it is depleted. The amount of it is reduced. So to drain mental energy means that as you work hard and you focus on something, your mental energy is going down. Here are the 3 suggestions. Take real breaks. Step away and give your brain space to recover. Be flexible. Schedule demanding tasks earlier in the day and shift traditional work when necessary. Create a safe space for experimenting. Let your team know that mistakes are part of the process, reducing the pressure that adds to mental strain. To let someone know is just to inform them of something. This is also a very common phrase in business communication. You can write a client, please let me know when you're ready to move forward with our service. Or if a client responds to you saying, hey, I'm sorry, but we're not interested in your service, you can respond politely by saying, thanks for letting me know. Final thoughts. This research focused on short-term effects. Future studies may show that regular proactivity becomes less taxing over time. But for now, it's clear. Going the extra mile can come with cost. If individuals and organizations don't recognize this, they risk burning out their best. Taxing is another way to say demanding or exhausting. So if something is taxing, it requires a lot of energy. Typically, we talk about things that are mentally taxing, like solving a difficult problem at work, and things can also be physically taxing, like doing a lot of exercise, or even emotionally taxing, like getting into an argument with your spouse, or dealing with other emotional issues. Going the extra mile just means doing more than you need to do, going above and beyond. And it's very positive. So if you go the extra mile in your job, maybe you show up early, maybe you stay late, maybe you are proactive and try to figure out new ways, better ways to do things in the company. And the last one, burning out. So burning out is when you work too much over a long period of time, maybe days, weeks, months, and you start to feel tired all the time. You can say, oh, I'm really burnt out. So now what we'll do is I'll go ahead and read all of this through without stopping to explain it. So for you guys that are just listening, you can hear it all at once, and hopefully now that we've explained it, you'll be able to understand a little bit more. When extra effort makes you worse at your job. Imagine you're a salesperson. You notice prospective clients often reach out with similar questions after meetings. Delaying contract signing. One morning, you decide to fix this and compile an FAQ sheet to send out with your proposals. Later that day, at an important meeting, you find it harder to concentrate. your attention wanes, and even simple answers feel hard to articulate. You may be experiencing the downside of being proactive. A recent study found that people who put effort into improving their work rather than just doing it show worse cognitive performance by the end of the day. So while proactivity may seem like a win, it can carry short-term mental costs. Why routine matters. Routines help conserve mental energy, like learning to ride a bike. Tasks that are repeated in the same way become automatic and less demanding. But proactive behavior breaks routines, requiring more mental effort and leading to greater mental fatigue, which makes it harder to focus or make decisions. The studies. In one study, 163 French workers rated their daily proactivity and took a cognitive test at the end of the day. The more proactive they were, the lower their scores. To rule out factors like poor sleep or heavy workload, the second study tested 93 workers both in the morning and evening. Even after controlling for these variables, the more proactive workers consistently showed lower cognitive performance at day's end. In another experiment, 637 UK workers compared routine tasks to ones they wanted to improve. Tasks that deviated from routine required significantly more mental effort, confirming the link between proactivity and cognitive load. Should you stop being proactive? Not at all. Proactivity helps people feel engaged and creates opportunities for innovation. But since it drains mental energy, it's important to manage when and how you engage it. The authors offer 3 suggestions. 1. Take real breaks. Step away and give your brain space to recover. 2. Be flexible. Schedule demanding tasks earlier in the day and shift traditional work when necessary. 3. Create a safe space for experimenting. Let your team know that mistakes are part of the process, reducing the pressure that adds to mental strain. Final thoughts. This research focused on short-term effects. Future studies may show that regular proactivity becomes less taxing over time. But for now, it's clear. Going the extra mile can come with a hidden cost. If individuals and organizations don't recognize this, they risk burning out their best efforts. So that's all we got for today. If you guys want to study more, I'll put the link to this document below, as well as an additional PDF with some explanations and examples of everything we covered here. Now, if you really want to practice and be able to use these phrases, I would recommend taking these words and trying to make your own sentences with them. Then you can put a sentence in the comments below, or you can practice them with a teacher, with a friend, and that's really the best way to learn. You need to always be practicing what you're learning. If you just watch this video, take some notes, and forget it, you may be able to recognize and understand these words when you come across them, but your chances of being able to use them and use them correctly are very small unless you take time to write some sentences and check them either with a teacher or a friend or even something like ChatGPT. If you're interested in one-on-one or group classes, feel free to send me an email. It's grant@businessasusualenglish.com. And if you'd like to read the original article, you can click this link here to the Harvard Business Review and read the article in its entirety. But if you like the video, please like it, share it, and subscribe for more. I'll be making more videos like this every week. I'll see you next time.